So this is like a two-part thing. And then like this is like really a huge like pain. But after that, like we'll be able to just go forward to dividends in addition to paying capital. Um, so like this is just like a really important thing. Like this is one of the honestly this might be like a thing that's like really annoying. Besides like bonds payable and the discounts, the discount and like the premium. But like let's try. So basically, for this, it's about liquidation of the partnerships. First part's gonna just be like determining the distribution of the assets that's been liquidated, and the second part is sort of like talking about when there isn't enough capital in the capital account to cover the losses in the case of the liquidation happening at a loss, and then if there's is like so then there's like a deficiency from one of the partners' accounts. Okay. So like what happens if there's a deficiency, pretty much. Okay, so prior to liquidating the partnership, Todd and Gentry had. So there's Todd. Okay. Just like stay with me here. Gentry. Okay had. So Todd had the capital cap of 50,000. Gentry has a cap of 100,000. Partnership has no other cash asset than what was realized from the asset of sales. These assets were sold for 200,000. Okay. The assets sold for 20,000. The partnership had 20,000 in liabilities. Okay, so equal losses, equal income. Determine the amount received by Gentry as a final distribution from the liquidation of the partnership. From what I am gonna guess, the assets were sold for 220,000, but there's 20,000 in liabilities. So after the amount that was used to pay off those liabilities, the remaining amount from the sale of assets was 20,000. So they're going to split that equally amongst themselves, 100,000, pretty much. For the amount that was received by Gentry as a final distribution from the liquidation of the partnership. I'm not sure if it's just like 100,000 because like the pre-existing capital count of 100,000. So I don't know if he'll be receiving 200,000 pretty much. But let's look it up real quick. It might be 100,000, maybe 200,000 pretty much. 90,000. What the hell? Oh. What? 200,000 gain. Assets were sold at 20,000. Oh, whoops. So like, see, this is like a really important thing. So when it says assets that were sold, it's like these assets were actually here. Like this was the assets, 150,000. This 150,000 was sold for 220,000. Pretty much. That's what it's saying. So because of that, sold for 250,000. But then like those assets were from their capital accounts, so like their capital accounts were wiped out pretty much now. But then like the remainder, there was a gain on sale, 50,000, right? So like the thing is, there's also this liability. This is the liability. After adding the liability. Oh, so they're saying like you have to add the liability to the capital accounts. So 20,000 70. Okay, so that 50,000 is after that liability was added. This is really really annoying to understand. Um, but the 20,000 in liabilities is added to the capital accounts, and then that is a total of the and everything, like the assets that were sold, which was sold for 20,000, but the value of everything was 170,000. So um, they made a gain on the sale of the assets, 50,000, very much. Um, so they both received 25,000. 25,000. Right? 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. And then the 20. The 20. What? What the hell? I don't really think this is correct. Actually, um, this does not actually look correct. So, um, well, they're saying that the amount that they received, 125,000. So it says here. So prior on liquidation, 220,000 minus liability 20,000 minus the capital minus the capital. So 50,000 prior to liquidation. And then, oh, I see. The profit split 1-to-1, but the thing is, like, the assets, it still exists pretty much. So like they'll get the amount that they got in the asset they had originally in the capital accounts. If that doesn't make sense, pretty much the amount that's received by Gentry would be 125,000. But like, there's another part of it where like they might be short, pretty much. So like, prior to liquidating their partnership, short a cap account of 20,000, and Bain had a cap count of 80,000. The partnership's assets were sold for 40,000. Partnership assets were sold for 40,000. No liabilities. And they split their income equally. Determine the amount of short's deficiency. Well, the partnership's assets were sold for 40,000. Wow, that's really low. So there was a loss on sale. This one, I see, like, um, because like 100,000 worth of capital was sold for 40,000. Pretty much. Were sold for 40,000. Jeez, how's that make sense? Um, I mean, I could be wrong here, but it kind of seems like there's a loss of 30,000. So like short would be short 10,000, and Brian would pretty much be getting what 50,000. So like determine the amount distributed to Brian, because like he's short of 10,000. So like it would probably come out Brian's account. 40,000. Is that correct? Wait, is this right? Oh, that is right. Okay. Um. Yeah. Yeah. So like the book value of the capital is 100,000, but it was sold at 40,000. So there's 60,000 loss. It would split that loss equally 30. And the thing is, the capital on shorts account is 20,000. So like he would be, he actually all his capital actually sold for less than what it was worth. So like it would be 10,000. So there's deficiency. So it would come out of Brian's account. Brian's capital account is 80,000. So after the sale of all the assets, it would be actually 50,000. But like he would take 10,000 of that capital account and pay off shorts deficiency. So like what he would get distributed to him after the liquidation is 40,000. Okay, well that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple when there's only two partners and the income is not like being like distributed like in crazy different ways. Um, so like, and then there could be withdrawal of partner, but we don't have a lot of time. We can get a few wrong. We can skip a few things. So like, we'll go next to dividend and additional trading capital.